The book of Bamidbar opens with a precise date, the first day of the second month of the second year, when Moshe and Aaron are commanded to take a census of Israel. After the census, the Torah describes the work of the Levium and the inauguration of the Mishkan. This week's Parsha BeHaalotecha then turns to the formal installation of the Levium, transferring the Kedusha and responsibilities from the firstborn to the tribe of Levi. Immediately afterward, the Torah introduces the story of Pesach Sheni, which actually took place in the first month of that same second year. In other words, an event recorded later in the narrative occurred earlier in time. How can the Torah present a later episode with an earlier date? The Sifri offers the simplest answer. The Torah is not written strictly in chronological order. Narrative sequence is shaped by thematic or conceptual considerations rather than by time. If so, there is no contradiction. Our section about Pesach Sheni can appear after the opening chapters of Bamidbar, even though it occurred earlier. The Abarbanel, however, suggests a different approach. He maintains that all the events in these chapters actually took place in the second month. The opening of Bamidbar is explicitly dated to the beginning of that month, and the subsequent descriptions, the census, the encampment, the Levium, also belong to that same period. Our passage about Pesach Sheni, likewise, occurs in the second month. It is simply introduced by referencing an earlier event, the offering of the Korban Pesach in the first month. In a similar spirit, though with the opposite emphasis, Kasuto argues that although the beginning of Bamidbar mentions the second month, the early chapters of the book are actually the culmination of a longer process that began already in the first year and continued until the start of the second month of the second year. According to this view, the timeline aligns naturally. The preparations described in the opening chapters stretch from the first year into the second, and the episode of Pesach Sheni fits smoothly into that broader sequence of events. We might also frame the issue by asking a related question. Which book continues the narrative of Shemot, Vayikra or Bamidbar? One answer is that both do, but on parallel tracks. Vayikra continues the story of the Mishkan and the divine service, while the beginning of Bamidbar continues the historical narrative. Here too, the opening of Bamidbar represents one thread, dealing with the organization of the camp and the army, which begins in the second month of the second year. The other parallel thread concerns the counting and appointment of the Levium to their service, which begins with the setting up and dedication of the Mishkan in the first month of the second year. Within each thread, the events follow chronological order, but because the Torah presents these threads sequentially, and we read them linearly, it appears as though the narrative is moving backward in time. Chazal teach us that Shivim Panim LaTorah. The Torah has 70 faces. Each person sees a different facet and contributes a unique angle, even if only a small one. The approaches we explored above are not about right or wrong. Each one adds depth, builds nuance, and illuminates an aspect that might otherwise have remained hidden. By placing Pesach Sheni here out of order, the Torah encourages us to search out those 70 faces, to broaden our understanding and enrich the way we engage the Torah. Shabbat Shalom.